The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Wittman, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Wallander, General Kurilla, General Langley, thank you all so much for joining us. General Kurilla, General Langley, I want to begin with you. If we look at where we are today as necessarily focused on this era of great power competition with China and Russia, I believe that potentially opens up a door for an opportunity for a black swan event. And my question is, based on your testimony, General Kurilla, beginning with you, where you said a flashpoint with Iran, a crisis in the region, a successful large-scale attack on a partner country, or an attack on the homeland by a VEO would necessarily redirect resources away from Central Command, or, excuse me, away from other areas to Central Command. I think that's meaningful. General Langley, you said an underinvestment in African security raises the risk of an unexpected crisis that would abruptly strip U.S. resources away from our top national security challenges in that arena of great power competition. Gentlemen, in your professional military judgment, do you assess that the shift in great power competition and resources and focus by the United States increases the risk of a black swan event? And do you believe, though, that our military building capability to address great power competition in any way would deter a black swan event? And thirdly, do you believe that efforts by either Russia or China are adding to the potential of any actors out there that may be interested in perpetrating a black swan event?
Congressman, thanks for that question. An interesting question. So when I took command in the first month, at the end of the first month, we had a commander's conference. And one of it, we had to come up with, each group had to come up with 2 black swan events that they could see happening. We had 12 of them. At the end of this, we briefed them all. We found that 11 of the 12 were actually highly likely, or were at least probable that could occur. By definition, they're no longer a black swan event. But I think to your question about preparing for or doing strategic competition, does that take away from not being able to see a black swan event? I don't think so, because I think when you are preparing and you're doing strategic competition, you are increasing the capability of your military force, and that includes the intelligence gathering apparatus. And I think it helps us be able to see some of those things that we might not otherwise be able to see.
Very good. General Langley?
Congressman, the NDS, our National Defense Strategy, tells me to specify and imply to monitor and respond. I need to be able to identify indications and warnings. One capability in a posture-limited and economy of force command is a decrement of our ISR capabilities. That is the foundational piece that I need, and it's also on my unfunded priority list of being able to bolster that capability so I can see those black swans, so I can provide indications and warnings, and so we can reposition assets, or I go to my colleague, General Kurilla, to have to assist, and we can aggregate some of our forces to do that. But at this point now, that's what pressurizes our efforts of exploitation. It's a layered threat here. So yes, answer to your last question, any exploitation by the violent extremist organization, I say yes. That's why I need increased ISR to address all of those issues.
Very good. Thank you. Gentlemen, let me ask too, you laid out that you have assessed this particular situation, those risks. In your assessment, where do you believe the greatest risk exists? And General Langley, you talk about maybe needing more ISR to be able to even further define that risk. But from both your professional judgments about what you see today, what's the greatest risk? And what do you have currently that you're using to mitigate that risk? And what might you need in order to do everything possible to make sure that we deter those actors that may be wanting to perpetrate a black swan event?
Congressman, for us, our greatest risk is with Iran right now. That is why it is our #1 priority to deter them. And then I would tell you it's the violent extremist organizations that we are seeing, the ISIS Khorasan group in Afghanistan. And what we're doing is we're applying our resources to both of those efforts. We look at those also through our partners to be the regional constructs to deter Iran. And again, it's increasing our capability and intelligence inside of Afghanistan.
Very good. General Langley?
Congressman, again, on the African continent, it's a layered risk. It's a layered threat. So my first and immediate, as I engage with our partners, because it is going to be partner-led, U.S. enabled, it is violent extremist organizations, and how do we address that? So that segues into how we address that through our programs and our portfolios of security force assistance. As we look at 333, Title 10, to train and equip or build institutional capacity in 332, that's what we need to address this. But we do have a pacing threat, and we do have that immediate threat as well. And that's where it's going to be a whole of government approach, collectively, all the OAIs coming together and putting together a value proposition to our African partners to deter them becoming the partner of choice.
Very good. Thank you to our witness. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.